Now, the husband of murdered woman Jill Meagher has slammed the government's decision to allow Charlie Sheen into the country for his speaking tour. Sheen has an extensive history of violence against women, which dates back to 1996. Mr Meagher called out the immigration minister on Twitter saying, "David Coleman, can I ask why you think it's appropriate to grant a visa to this violent criminal at a time when men are murdering women in Australia at epidemic rates?"
All right, let's get today's take on this with Shelley Horton from 9honey.com.au and comedian Vince Sorrenti. Shelley, you're nodding your head here. So you don't think Charlie Sheen should be allowed to speak in Australia?
I honestly, and I can see where Tom Meagher's coming from. He has been a victim of violence by circumstance.
Of course.
And we are looking at an epidemic in Australia. We are having up to one Australian woman killed by their partner every single week. And I don't know why, we aren't more up in arms about this. So to have someone like Charlie Sheen, who has a history of violence towards women, I think it's actually not about freedom of speech, it's about really bad PR. You know what? We don't need to be supporting this. We need to be making a stand against violence against women, and saying no to someone like Charlie Sheen would be actually helping that message.
It's really interesting, though, isn't it? Because he's not the first celebrity with a history of violence to come into Australia. Vince, what's your take on it?
Well, I'm a big supporter of free speech. Look, I love Charlie Sheen as a comic actor, but his personal life is like a bad porno movie. It's dreadful. But he has the right to be heard, and already good is coming of it. We're talking about violence against women. It's in the papers. It's on Talkback Radio. The issue is in the air. He has a chance to redeem himself. He has a chance to redeem people who have supported what he's done for a long time. I think this is the positive side of free speech. And by just saying, nah, kick him out of the country, let's not hear about it anymore, I think you shut the debate down a little bit too. So I think that's a positive aspect of free speech.
The other alternative to this, and I know you're shaking your head now, Shelley, is that, we've let a lot of people like Mike Tyson came in and did an ad last year. He's a convicted rapist. There are a lot of people you can think of. I can think of a lot of bands that tour here where people have had domestic.
Why aren't we actually stricter on that? I think that it actually.
Well, we are when it comes to rappers.
Because we're a free country, Shelley.
But Vince, if it's a rapper, we'll ban them. So if it's Snoop Dogg, no, we're going to really question that visa. Is that because he's black?
No, of course not.
Well, or is it because he is
it because it's middle-aged white men making these decisions? Is it because they might be a bit more fearful of an African-American rapper?
It's a tough question, though, isn't it?
Look, there's definitely been inconsistency, and that's a problem. But I think, look, I will always err on the side of free speech.
And I will err on the side of protecting women.
Well, I'm on that side too. You can't say I'm not on that side.
No.
Yeah, true.
That's right. Let's go to a topic that's slightly lighter. A new study has found that couples who sleep in separate beds have better relationships. It's all because couples who haven't had a good night's rest report significantly higher levels of emotional conflict the next day. Vince.
Look, the only sexy thing that happens in bed is sex. You got tossing and turning, you got sheet fighting, you got farting, you got snoring, you got bad breath, I'll sleep in another room and it's time to get it on. It's on like Donkey Kong. It's into the bed. And look...
Whose bed though? So do you have separate beds, or do you have a separate room or a third bed,
the one you mess
which
up.
is like it's like
different room.
It's like the business bed,
different house.
Red room
Business bed.
Mate, I'd rather get some sleep. My wife recently did this thing. It's like, I don't know, she got it from some women's magazine. This 30-day sex challenge. You have to do it every day for 30 days. And by day 3, I'm a middle-aged man. I'm pretending to be asleep. It's like, come on, Vince, come on. And I got to a point where we just looked at each other and went, no.
Yeah, no.
I know, just a high five and good night. Shelley,
I love it.
You're a little bit more of a newlywed than Vince is, but what about sleeping in separate beds?
I don't want to do separate beds, no way. I like the intimacy of sleeping in the same bed. My husband's a snorer. However, he went and got fitted for a mouth guard, and it works. I know, it doesn't look good. He kind of looks like this.
Yeah.
Just brings the jaw out. But it works, so it's not a sleep issue. I think when you start sleeping in separate beds, you're having separate lives.
How long have you guys been married?
6 years. We've been together 6 years.
Is it?
Married for 3, together for 6.
Married for
What's
3.
his name again?
Don't. I got
out
myself in so much trouble.
The bedroom, the bed brings out the worst in people. Girls, you can go to bed with Chris Hemsworth and wake up with Clive Palmer. It is. It's all ugly.
So what do you think Shelley and Vince are going to stay with us when we come back? Angry Granny, find out why one woman is refusing to see her newborn grandson.
And the man who claims he's miserable after winning $200 million. Oh, poor thing.
Same, bruh, same.
Welcome Welcome back. Now, a new grandmother has branded her own daughter evil for not allowing her in the delivery room. She said she wasn't contacted until after the birth and it was not normal that she was deprived of the experience. She's also cut contact with her daughter and is now refusing to see the newborn.
Settle down, Granny. Let's get Shelley Horton and Vince Arretti here to discuss this. Vince, grandmother's in a delivery room. I mean, I'm assuming there's a husband there and doctors, and she doesn't need to be... Does she have a right to be this upset?
No one has a right to be. Look, I think the woman having the birth has a right to say, you stay, everyone else, piss off. Seriously, I mean, I've never given birth to a child, but I could imagine that's
You've been in the room with your wife, Hats?
You know, yeah, I have been in for all four of my kids' births. I've been there, but look, stuff goes on. My brother-in-law was eating a steak while his kid was being born. My mother, this is funny.
Looks like placenta.
My mother was at the birth of my nephew, and her English is not great. She rings me up straight after. She said, Vince, your sister had a baby. He's 51 kilometres long. I said, well, call me back when he's all the way out.
Shelley. Oh, look, this grandma is out of control. And I think the fact that she's now having nothing to do with the family is probably a blessing. They don't have to have her nastiness as part of that family.
So,
you know what? Cut the child out and cut the grandmother out.
Yeah.
Finally, what about this guy in the UK? Okay, he's won more than $200 million. $200 million in the Lotto mega draw.
He's eaten most of it.
He's moving to Australia. Now, apparently, since taking out the top prize, Adrian Bayford has divorced and he's become increasingly unhappy. So, Shelley, he's coming down under for a fresh start. Do you think it will work?
Look, I've actually met a couple of people who've won Lotto and they've said it's ruined their lives. It's a really strange thing because they said you get cousins and distant relatives all coming at you with their hand out and wanting money from you where they didn't even want a piece of you before. So I can kind of understand it. What I don't understand is if you want a fresh start, why do you talk to the paper about it?
Yeah.
That's not going to be a fresh start.
He's got to get a great run here too, isn't it?
Vince, I reckon $200 million, come down here, pay some taxes, no problem. You'll cover a few of us.
Oh, you're welcome here, mate. You reckon you're upset now? Wait till you spent 3 years on Nauru, buddy, on your way out here. Vince! He's just going to waltz into our country with his $200 million? I don't think so.
Oh, my goodness.
Did you make me laugh at that?
Can we go to a break?
He's a comedian.
He's one of the best, and that's why he's one of the best.
That's right.
Well, look, we welcome you and all your cash into the country. Feel free to come in. If you're a grandmother, you're not allowed.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks, team.
Coming up on Today, extra smart styling, clever ways to tame